Hello and welcome to Step 15 of Free Podcast Tools How to Podcast Guide. This time we're going to be talking about financial support. I'm so happy to have Mel joining me. How are you, Mel?
I am great like always.
Excellent. Love to hear it. Love to hear it. So when we talk about financial support, we want to recoup some of that money we're investing in our hobby. We've bought microphones and boom arms or desk stands and interfaces and headphones and all these different pieces of equipment. And that's not looking good on the old tax form. It's all going out. We want something coming in. So on here, there's a myriad of ways that you could try to get money to come in. At the top of my list is always going to be donation type services, support type services like PayPal, Patreon. I have people that give hundreds of dollars a year to TPE Network, and it affords me to send Mel something or send John something or Alex something, because stuff comes up. And it'll be at the worst times, too. I had Alex, that was last year. He sent me a note saying, hey, the microphone's not working. What should I do? And I'm like, oh. But thankfully, community gives us a lot of, well, not a lot, but some money each year. Helps me pay for website hosting, media hosting, equipment, and promotion. So I try to use it in that format. So you can do the old donation model and kind of come up with a slick way to say thank you. So what I used to do, and I should get back to this, is when a donor would send feedback, I had this voice message that said, priority feedback inbound. So their feedback took priority over somebody who's not a donor. So we make a big deal about it. And sometimes you want to do stuff like that. I see people winning on Patreon that are using titles. So they'll say, at the Jedi level, we have this person donating. At the Sith Lord level, we have so-and-so donating. Just cool stuff that fits your podcast. Mel,
I have seen that, yes.
Yeah, you. I was just going to say, would you be able to corroborate my story?
Yes, I've seen it. And the thing is, it doesn't have to be big either. Like,
No.
I mean, as long as you're acknowledging, I listened to an Arrow podcast,
Mm-hmm.
and just at the beginning of the episode, they would say, and thanks to our, because Arrow's coming to Quiver.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks to all of our Quiver heads. And so
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and so they just named them off. And it's just like, so it doesn't have to be a big production. I mean, just literally just thanking them is good. So yeah.
And they feel good about themselves when you do it. So what I've done just recently, and I haven't really done a good job rolling this out yet, but I will, is I've changed the tiers. So on Patreon, each one of us on TPE Network says something frequently. And so I've taken those because our community points them out. And I've taken those and I've made those tiers. So they'll be like proficient 8 out of 10 tier, it's $8, or the everything's awesome Hank tier, awesome. And I just make a game out of it. So we'll gamify that. And then another way to go, which I've just recently started, apparel. And I was kind of shocked how well it's been going over, that people have been waiting to have a chance to get gear from TPE Network. So that's always a way that you could say, hey, you're supporting the show. They're advertising the show. Because who doesn't have a shirt where people say, well, what's that?
Yeah.
And who do you hang out with? Typically like-minded people, similar interests. So I think that's a good way to go. The bigger you grow your footprint, the more merch you can sell and the more money you could potentially make. I know I have some acquaintances in YouTube that are making 6 figures a year off of apparel.
Wow.
They have huge audiences, though, but
Clearly,
they're really going.
Okay.
And what I used to always think was you put the logo on something and then you sell that. What this new company has talked to me about and corrected me on, you make a bunch of logos and you sell a few here and a few there and a few. And I tell you, I never would have thought that that would work, but it is working. And I am going to take that and run with it. So get smart about that. And also, when we're covering shows like we did, Glorious Purpose is like a line from Loki. And it's not trademarked because it's just a saying. It's an expression. It's saying, that's my glorious purpose. So I made a Glorious Purpose shirt that looks like the Marvel Studios logo, but it's green, that Loki green. And people are buying stickers and stuff of it. And I was like, that was easy. I mean, it was just, I thought it up one day, made it, done.
I'm going to sell a Glorious Porpoise to SeaWorld.
Exactly. Have the little horns on there, the Loki horns on there.
That's a dolphin with the Loki.
That would be great, dude. A pudgy dolphin.
You never know.
So apparel, and when you're thinking apparel, think pillows, stickers, buttons, little stuff. Because I sold some stickers the other day, and the margin per sticker was like 50 cents. I mean, so you sell a bunch of stickers and stuff, you'll be making more money than you think.
Nice.
So off the apparel bus, let's go to sponsors. And this is what I used to do in the beginning. And I think everybody makes this mistake is they think, I got to grow a show big enough and I got to get sponsors. You actually don't have to have a big show. Let's say Mel reaches marketers because that's Mel's wheelhouse. And let's say in those marketers, he's reaching some of the top marketers on the internet. What do you think an advertiser would pay to get in front of those people? Whether it was 50 of them or 100 of them or 5,000 of them, no matter the number, they'll pay a lot of money to get in front of the top of the top. So think about stuff like that when you're saying, I got to get a sponsor, but I don't have 5,000 downloads. Typically, 5,000 is the threshold people want to advertise. I've interviewed over the years several advertising firms, and they'll say 5 to 10 grand worth of listeners, viewers, whatever, is kind of their minimum bucket they want. But I'm telling you what, if you reach some of the top, and you were like, well, Seth Godin listens to my podcast, and they'd be like, what? He does? Well, how about this offer sheet? You'd be like, man. So you can negotiate more than just a mere $25 per 1,000 if you have something special. You could say, I only have 500 listeners, but they're all cream of the crop people and that you want to get in front of, and I want several $100s for that. You could do it.
Okay.
Depends on what you're into. You have a golf podcast and Rory McIlroy listens. What is it worth to a company to get in front of him that could lead them to some huge deal? So you can leverage your podcast for more than you think. So think outside the box on these things. And you got to have a passionate user base that answers your calls to action. So at TPE Network, we have a smaller audience than some of the other podcasts, but it has allowed us to win stuff, awards and recognition and recognition from actors on TV series and stuff. They normally wouldn't turn their heads for a show that's got 5,000 downloads. But if your base is loud enough and passionate enough, and they're like, whoa, we had shows where the writers, the producers listened to the podcast.
Nice.
And they'll be like, what? Oh, that's what you guys think? You guys are wrong, And any thoughts, Mel, on making some money off your podcast?
No, everything makes sense.
Okay. We're going to go into the home stretch, the final episode, which will be number 16. And even though I'm not a lawyer and I don't play one on TV, we're going to talk about legalities. Yikes.